Sometimes I just be losing my mind. Sometimes I just be lying to be lying. Sometimes I wish I could quit my 9 to 5 and make music from 9 to 9 and have a hell of a time.
Welcome, everyone, to Some Shit to Think About, episode number 4. Here with your host, Anthony Beastie Baron, here to give you guys another great show, and I'm so glad that you're tuning in, whether you're watching or listening, because I have some great news to share with you all. First, I'll start this episode off with getting into some announcements. We finally have some announcements, so I'm excited to even have those. First announcement would be that we are now on Apple and Spotify, as well as Google Podcasts. So wherever you listen to your podcast at, you'll be able to find some shit to think about there. I'm pretty excited about that. If you like YouTube, if you prefer YouTube, we're more than welcome to, tap in on YouTube. And, you can interact as well, leave some comments as well. I'll make sure to ask more questions that can get you guys more involved. But first announcement is that we are on Apple and Spotify. So that was pretty exciting. Second announcement is that you all should go and purchase my book. I have an ebook that is out titled Unlocking the God Within. It's my first ebook, my first writing ever outside of the assignments and whatnot. But it's a pretty good book, man. It's a damn good book. I'll be honest with you. It is a philosophical book about just realizing the power that we all have as human beings on this earth, and the power that comes with living life as your most authentic self. I highlight a lot of different philosophies that can kind of just help you live life on your own terms and live life as your most authentic self. And it has nothing to do with religion. I'm not trying to challenge any type of religions or anything like that, but I am trying to give a different perspective on how you can view life. I definitely touch on the illusion and how you can not fall victim to it, as well as use it to your advantage, similar to the last couple podcast episodes that we've had. And I just mentioned just a lot of different tools, tricks, and just really game, to be honest with you, a lot of gems on just living life as your most authentic self. I made the book for the people that move to their own drum set, the people that kind of operate on their own terms, the people that are misunderstood and don't want to be understood, and the people that are perfectly fine with that, you know what I mean? And anyone that wants to be at that level as well, I want this book to be for you. I want this book to just be a source of inspiration, a source of knowledge, and a source of just value overall more than anything else. I feel like regardless of how old you are, regardless of what race you are, and just regardless of who you are, I feel like you'll be able to get a lot out of this book. I put a lot of time into it, and I am very confident that you will be able to get something valuable out of reading this book. It's pretty short. It's under 50 pages. I tried to get straight to the point and cut out all the fluff, and just gave you everything that you would need to unlock the God within yourself, as well as just, like I said, think about life in a different perspective. So please tap in. It only will be beneficial for you as well as me. And if you really don't like it, if you spend the money and buy it and you read it and you feel like it's nothing you got from it, then contact me. Let me know either in the comments or reach out to me via social media, email, however, and I'll get you your money back. But I'm not too worried about that, because I know that this book is very valuable, and I know that it has a lot of value in it. So please go get your copy of Unlocking the God Within today. I will leave a link in the description for you as well, and it's on Amazon. So if you're only going to buy one ebook this year, or if you only ever bought one ebook, this should be the ebook to buy. I'll just wrap it up with saying that. And then the final announcement that we have is this episode is being brought to you by Goldwater. Goldwater is the elixir of life. It's made of 99.99% pure metallic elements. It helps with brain function, helps relieve stress, anxiety, and it also increases lucid dreams and pineal function. That pineal gland, unlike that third eye, baby. It also it helps with overall just electrical conductivity in the body. So I've been on it for the last couple of days. I take a couple drops before I go to sleep and right when I wake up, and I've been pretty sharp, man. And I never really struggled with sleep, but my sleep has been hitting something different ever since using this Gold Water, man. And dreams have definitely been crazy, so I definitely recommend trying it out. I have a link also in my description. I'm in an affiliate, so please tap in and let me know what you think. But again, this message brought to you by Gold Water. Very good stuff. So now that the announcements are out the way, we will get into today's topic, man. And we're talking about some pretty real stuff, man. We're talking about the ongoing identity crisis that has been going on in the world, man. More specifically in America, but I feel like it's a worldwide thing, to be honest with you, man. And the identity crisis that I'm speaking about doesn't have to do anything with fraud or anything with Social Security, but it has everything to do with the lack of authenticity that is in the world today. And this episode is just going to be about what this identity crisis is, kind of why I feel like it's even a thing, and how to remain authentic, how I remain authentic, how I have, kind of found my authenticity, how I, found myself, and just kind of like my personal journey and understanding who I am and living that out, as well as some shit for you guys to think about in terms of how do you guys stay authentic and stay, true to who you are and yourself. So without further ado, we'll just get right into it, man. And I feel like this topic of identity crisis needs to be talked about more, because the more that people aren't being themselves, the more that people are kind of, just trying to be everybody but themselves, the worse the world gets. And I'll tell you why. It's because everyone, I've mentioned this before, but everyone on this world, they're born with a purpose and they're born with unique gifts. And when one isn't living as themselves and they're trying to be like someone else, they are stripping the world of those gifts, right? They are hurting others without them even knowing about it, because they're not living to their fullest form of themselves, so they can't inspire the people that they were meant to inspire. And so the world will be lacking more authentic people, more creative people, and just, a lot of inspiration. The world kind of revolves on inspiration, on people, doing something a certain way, and people getting ideas off of that, and that kind of leads, it's like a domino effect type of thing. So this lack of identity is something that is hurting the world, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know if it's gonna get any better anytime soon. So that's why I decided to make a episode about it, because I think this is some real shit to think about. And I mean, I feel like the only reason, but I feel like the major reason why we are in this identity crisis, it just comes down to laziness. It comes down to people not wanting to take the time to figure out who they are, right? I definitely alluded to this in the last episode, but it's a lot easier to kind of go along with what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is saying, what everybody else kind of it has made cool or made the norm, right? And so when you're just going along with everyone else, you're not really thinking for yourself. You really have no real reasoning for doing what you're doing, and so you're kind of just idlessly drifting along throughout this life, just following different crowds and whatnot. And that, like I said, that's not cool. That's not what life was kind of intended to be. I think it takes someone to do some type of self work, right? It takes people to take the time to sit back by themselves and just address themselves and address who they are, what they like, what they don't like, things that they might want to incorporate into becoming the best version of themselves, whatever that may look like, right? And just understanding who they are, what their purpose is, and just why that they're here. And yeah, I think it just comes down to people being lazy more so than anything else, man, and having someone else kind of make all the harder decisions for them. And that's not, I feel like that's kind of like taking the easy way out, which isn't cool by any means. Or I feel like it's a lot easier for people to kind of identify with whatever their job title is, or whatever job that they have is. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being very prideful or very proud of whatever job you might have, because I'm sure if you are very proud of it, it took a lot of hard work to get to that position, to get that title. And excuse me, I'm not taking anything away from that, but I am saying that you are always going to be much more than whatever job title that you might have. Even if you are, you have a lot of power, you could be the president of the United States, man, arguably the most important person in the United States, right? That person only have 4 to 8 years to be that president, and granted, before, there were probably, high ticket politicians, senators, governors, mayors, whatever it may be, but they were also fathers, brothers, sons, leaders in their community. There were also people that were much more than whatever job title that they have. So even the grandest of scale, positions that you have, you're always going to be more than that, right? And I feel like it's easy for people to just kind of go along with the fact that they are, XYZ position, or they, do whatever it is that they do, which is a great thing. But at the same time, it's kind of a cop-out, because you're always going to be much more than that, regardless of it, how much you love the job, how much time you put into it. You're always going to be much greater than that. And I feel like who that is should always kind of be held above whatever position and title that you have. So I feel like it comes down to, just like I said, just really just laziness, man, and comfort, and not wanting to get uncomfortable, and to do the self-work and figure out who you are and what it is that you might want to become, or what it is that you feel like you're put here to do, man. And I mean, I definitely understand, I'm young, right? I'm only 23. A lot of people in this time, right, they're kind of trying to figure out who they are, just graduated school, like I said, getting into the quote unquote real world and whatnot. So I definitely understand, it can be tough figuring out who you are, and what you, what you love, what you want to do, and just, who you really are. But I personally, I was kind of fortunate just to have parents that always made me reinforce who I was, outside of any sport that I played or any hobby that I had. And what I mean by that is, just when I was a younger kid, anytime that I got to acting uncharacteristically, anytime that I got to doubting myself, or anytime I got to any trouble, really, just anytime I was doing things that weren't really on par with the type of young man I was becoming, they would ask me, they'd be like, who are you? You know what I mean? And they would actually want an answer. They wouldn't just want me to say my name. They would be like, but who is Anthony Barron? And I'd have to be like, I remember just being a kid, like, I'm smart, I'm funny, I'm handsome, I'm athletic, just different traits and characteristics about me. But it was, I used to always, like I said, I used to kind of feel shy, feel a little silly doing it back then. But the older I got and the more that I did it, the more that I realized it was actually a really good practice, because it always had me just creating who I felt like I was. It always had me kind of thinking about who I actively wanted to be, who I feel like I am. And that has kind of subconsciously, I feel like, shaped me into becoming who I am, right? Because it wasn't necessarily easy. Like I said, I always kind of had a good idea, but it wasn't really until I kind of got on my own in college, where I could really kind of solidify who I was and what I want to do, and just, my purpose here. Because, as a kid, you're a kid, you're kind of by default going along with the crowd. And I definitely wasn't necessarily a follower. I feel like I was always been a leader to a degree. But you're a kid at the end of the day, so you're gonna definitely do childlike things and whatnot. And as I progressed, I got to high school. People that might have known me, I had a couple of personas. People call me Beastie, people call me Mr. Mocha. I kind of really embodied that. I was just young. I was feeling myself, as we all should in high school, and as we all should throughout life, to be honest with you. You should always feel yourself. You should always be feeling like that person, you know what I mean? But it was kind of, some of that wasn't genuine, I'd say. Maybe majority of it was, for sure, but some of it probably wasn't. Some of it was probably for a little bit of social acceptance. I can definitely admit that. But when I got to college is when I really kind of just realized, like, all right, I'm gonna have to take a couple steps back. I'm gonna have to kind of slow my roll and really see who I am, because I started to have actions that didn't correlate with who I believed I was, right? I started to do things that didn't resonate with who I thought I was, and things that were hurting other people around me, things that were just not cool stuff, right? It's not stuff that I was proud to say that I did or were a part of. So I had to really take some steps back and really do some self-work, kind of like I mentioned earlier, and figure out who is Beastie, who is Anthony Barron, like who is AB, and what do we stand for? What's our purpose? Like, why are we here? And don't get me wrong, I didn't necessarily isolate myself from everyone. I didn't, I wasn't, on some fuck the world type vibes. I was definitely still social. I was definitely still active. I was definitely still kicking it with the homies, all that good stuff. I played football throughout college, so I always had the bros in that sense. But I definitely was taking more time, like on the weekends or any free time that I did have, to just do some self-study, man, and just figure out who am I, where am I trying to go, and what does that look like, right? That's when the first time I bought a whiteboard and I started just kind of putting out my daily goals, my monthly goals, and just planning out stuff, habits and characteristics of the type of person I want to be. That's when I really started first journaling. Definitely wasn't as consistent as I am now, but it was just the start of me kind of putting the pen to paper, starting to transfer a lot of the thoughts that I had onto paper to be able to look back and see, like, okay, like I said, I want to be like this. I said I want to do this. Oh, okay, I was feeling like this in this time period. You know what I mean? It was just my first time really just doing any type of self-work. I started, really taking, hygienical care. I mean, I was always good with my hygiene. Do not get it twisted. But that's when I started to, dive into, like, face masks and stuff. And just, like I said, like, taking the time to, show self-love, right? And just to be alone with myself. I also started kind of meditating that time and just really getting comfortable with just, like I said, being by myself and just appreciating the stillness that life has, that we too often get caught up in. Because I feel like when you're, living life, you a lot of times you're trying to, be in the mix, right? You're trying to be where everybody else is, you're trying to be doing what everybody else is kind of doing. So it was a good time for me to kind of take some steps back and, really dive deep on who I am and figure that stuff out, because I definitely didn't come up with these answers overnight. I didn't figure out who I was, after, a couple of self-care days, right? Self-love days. It definitely took, probably a few months, but it was a great time spent because it just kind of showed me that, well, I always knew that I was a much more than just a football player, but it really just I really started to really feel it, right? And I feel like that's something else that is something that's a major in terms of the whole identity crisis thing, is just, like I mentioned, people identifying with their roles is especially bad in sports, right? There's nothing wrong with wanting to be the best athlete that you can be. You should be. You should definitely have that mindset and that mentality, but you should also know that you're, a great individual outside of whatever sport that you might play, right? Because I've seen a lot of people just throughout my college experience that were damn good athletes, and when they didn't get that call from the NFL or CFL, whatever next level goal that they had, it was kind of there was a moment of they had to figure out who they were. They kind of had to take some time away and really like figure that out. And I know some people that got like depressed, some people that really fell into real funks, real life like mental issues, because they for so long they were XYZ the receiver, or XYZ the quarterback, and I know even people like that across different sports, like their whole life, everybody's been telling them that you're you're going to the league, you're this and you're that, so you kind of false identify with just being just a player, man. And that type of stuff is pretty tough, it's pretty hard on you in the sense that you don't really who you are as an athlete, but you don't know who you are as a person. So it can definitely be a little bit challenging, man. But in that time in college, I didn't want to necessarily get done with college and not get that call and be like, damn, now I got to reinvent myself. I have to figure out, who I am, what I'm trying to do, and all that stuff. So that time was definitely great, man. And I really say just the meditation and just being comfortable with being by myself kind of showed me who I am, and just the the beauty of who I am, right? Because I'm not perfect. I never will be. There's a lot of things that my homies, always make fun of me about doing and all that stuff. But I embody it. I embrace it, and it makes me who I am. And, I feel like I am a divine being, right? I feel like I am a very cerebral intellectual that was put on this earth to help elevate the people around me and to make everyone's experience as great as it can be, or as enjoyable as it can be, because it is an enjoyable process, right? It's an enjoyable life, can be very enjoyable. It definitely comes with sacrifice and a little bit of struggle, for sure, if you want to achieve anything real in this world. But I do feel like we can all have a good time while doing it. So that's who I really feel like I am. I feel like I was kind of, like I said, just put here to inspire, but the only way I can kind of do that is to be the best version of myself. And that's kind of what I really got from a lot of that self-study in Pueblo, is just the fact that, like I said, like I'm a divine individual, man, and I'm highly gifted, I'm highly favored, and I'm just I want others to feel as good as I do, if not better, about life. You know what I mean? And I want people to just feel themselves more so than anything else, and be 100% okay with feeling themselves, even if it's different than going with the crowd, man. So that's kind of why I do what I do, and I am who I am. And why I'm even, kind of even talking about this, man. And I feel like it goes along perfectly with this identity crisis, because when you look at just today's day and age, it's like people don't, like, they either want to just, identify with whatever title or whatever role that they have, and they just want to identify to whatever, like, group or cliques, they feel as they're a part of. And I think the whole groupthink concept kind of paired with the significance of social media is what's making this a real issue, what's making this a real crisis. Because social media is great, it's amazing, I love social media. It's an opportunity to connect with people you never would have connected with, all across the world, all across the planet, right? But at the same time, social media it's become so addictive, it's become so somewhat, to some people, like cult-ish, that people will do anything for social media. They'll do anything to be accepted socially, through social media. And I think that has what's really got this whole identity crisis thing kind of up in flames, because people find these communities, they find these groups that they want to identify with and be a part of, but they don't necessarily, like, they join these groups, they join these communities and stuff, but they stop thinking critically after they do that, right? They stop doing things for themselves. They only do things for the group. You know what I mean? For example, if you're on Twitter a lot, if you're on Black Twitter a lot, you see that people are always roasting Russell Wilson, right? They're always talking mad shit about Russell Wilson for whatever reason, because he's corny, right? But I feel like a lot of people don't even really know Russ, or don't even really, understand why, but they'll, go right along with it and be like, fuck Russ, you know what I mean? He's hella cornball, da-da-da. But in reality, they probably wouldn't even be able to tell you why they don't like him, and I think that concept is bewildering. I seen Tyler, the Creator, talk about, he actually just talked about something like this on a podcast or on a show or something, but he was just saying people can't articulate why they like or dislike things anymore. People will just be on the internet like, yeah, that was some mid, you know what I mean? And everybody's saying, yeah, that shit's mid. But it's like, well, why was it mid to you? And people are kind of like, well, that shit was just ass, you know what I mean? It's just like, well, at least be able to articulate whatever points that you do stand on, you know what I mean? Even if it's, with the crowd or against it, just be able to stand for something, right? Be able to have some type of unique thing or unique reason as to why you're doing what you're doing, and I'm saying, and something intentional as to why you do what you do. Because a lot of people that are kind of, like I said, in this identity crisis, that are doing everything for kind of social acceptance or everything just to fit in with the crowd, they're not moving intentionally, they're just kind of drifting, right? And I feel like when you move with intention, life is just a little bit easier, right? Because everything you're doing is with a clear-cut purpose, and everything you're doing has meaning and has reasoning. So it makes the more so dull things in life not dull, you know, because you're doing them intentionally. And I mean, when I say doing things intentional, I mean you can intentionally do nothing. You know what I mean? You can set out time out your day to do nothing, but that's way better off than you intending to do something with your day or intending to do something with some time and end up doing nothing. You know what I mean? Two completely different things. So I just feel like when you're intentional and you understand why you're doing everything that you do, it helps allow you maintain that level of authenticity, that, you know, that level of who you are, you know, in terms of just how you identify and who you feel you are, you know what I mean, what you feel your identity is. So I just really want people to think about that and think about, you know, why do you do what you do? Like, are you doing stuff just to kind of keep up with the crowd? Are you doing things just to, you know what I'm saying, because it's trendy and it's cool? Or are you doing things because it actually, you know, aligns with who you feel like you are, who you say you are, and what you feel your purpose is? Because it's something that's major, man. And I want as many people to be their authentic selves as possible, man. Like I'll say that probably every single episode, because that's something that I really am passionate about, and that's something that I really feel needs to be a statement made, is authenticity, man. Even if it's not cool, even if it's not accepted, even if it's not, you know, the best thing to the people around you, man, if it feels right to you, we need you to do it, because you have some type of unique gift that you need to share with the world, and you can only do that if you're being authentic, if you're being yourself, if you're being you, man. Like, the world doesn't need any more other people that are already here. They need you. We need, you know, you to be yourself. I can't even compare it to anyone, because not anyone has what you have, you know what I mean? And that's the shit I want you to think about. I want to know, though, like, I want to get some comments, I want to get some feedback on how you guys, you know, retain your identity, how you guys retain your authenticity in a world that is always trying to pull, you know, everyone in all these different areas and these different directions. Because for me, it's pretty easy. It's kind of just goes to what got me into thinking about who I was, who I am, just, you know, doing things like meditating, doing things like journaling, doing things like going to the park and grounding myself, you know what I'm saying, putting my bare feet into the grass, into the, you know, just the earth, and really, you know, recharging and just doing things that I like doing. Like I said, I like stillness, I like solitude, I like being by myself. So I like to, you know, take myself out on dates. I like to take, you know what I'm saying, I like to go take, you know, long walks without my phone, right? I like to just do things that allow me to be alone with my thoughts, be alone in my space, up in my head, right? And I feel like that allows me to maintain my authenticity, because it's just me and me. Like, I'm talking to the coolest nigga I know. You know what I mean? I'm talking to the coolest person I know, and which is myself, right? And I feel like we should all, you know, have that same type of love, you know what I'm saying, for yourself. But I'm very curious as to see what you guys do to kind of remain authentic, how you guys kind of go about expressing that, because like I said, this authenticity stuff is lacking in the world, man. And I just want to know how you guys remain authentic, how do you guys remain yourselves, man, in the crazy times like this, man. So that's kind of the whole show. If you guys want, I could do a part 2 potentially, but it's really up to you guys. I have plenty of topics that I want to talk about, but I really do want to start getting some feedback from you all. I want to make this experience as good as it can be for you guys. I do feel like this will be the top philosophy podcast within the next year or so. But the only way that will happen is if I continue to keep getting better, and I keep just serving the people, right? And I keep doing things that you all find valuable. So I do want to get like just some overall feedback, whether you love it, whether you hate it, whether, you know, you want to see certain things talked about, whatever it may be. Let me know. You can get at me on all the social medias at Beasty Baron, BEASTY BARRON, all one word. I gotta throw a major shout out to the ZOS company, man. If you know, you know. If you don't, you'll know soon enough, man. They're cooking up some amazing things for the world, and I cannot wait until everyone knows about it, because everybody will know about ZOS. But I do appreciate you all tuning in, whether you're watching or you're listening. Make sure you go grab a copy of Unlocking the God Within. You will not be disappointed. If it's the only ebook you buy this year, make sure that is the one. And also go copy some Gold Water, man. It is literally gold water. Like, I don't think you guys understand, but we have electricity in our bodies. But I'll get into that later. Go cop some Gold Water. Go cop the book, man, and just go be great. And let me know how you guys remain authentic, because I really want to know, and I really want to see what you guys think. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.